No, no, yeah, no, again, yeah, yeah. Jeez, okay. So so you also were just this is kind of actually different of what I'm trying to do because I want to put this into like some new way of like when I'm like later on the line, like try to incorporate more like commentary, maybe also incorporate try to show off try to cover off combos or more kind of ways. But for the most part, I think this will be like more of like a tips and text, like what what is like why I run, what I run, on what other stuff you can run. Best ways you can keep your scenarios of what you want to try to avoid from combos, hand traps, such like Ash, Maxi, Draw for Wowls, or anything in those hand traps. Yeah. So as you see here, yeah. Standard 2 blue eyes is you always want to have 2 blue eyes. You don't do 3. It's always just 2. Veiler, or it's kind of just a recommend. It's just kind of you just want to run Veiler in this deck because you can search it easily from Sage and Wishes here. Keep in mind, I will mix up some of these cards, but yeah, Veiler basically good search, and it's also good summon to use is when if you don't got much, all that. Draw, it's draw. You need draw because it's a heavy hand trap, and that's just it. Just draw upward. It's an absolute need. Sage and Maiden. I think if you've seen any of the previous videos, some of them were like any like previous cards or the ban list. But yeah, Sage is your starter searcher. For all the combos. Maiden is your always your go to get a tablet, which True Light I one of. That's what you always want. You get to search for it, and she'll bring herself back when no blue aces on the field. Oh, and she'll bring the tablet anywhere from your hand, your deck, or your graveyard. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, Maxi. That's just all you need to know there. Ash is Ash, as you know. Now I would say, like if you see my account here, or you don't have to do 45. You can try to minimize it to go 40. This is just what I have to deal with right now, all of such, because it's like, and it just kind of sometimes fits a little for some reason, for some situations, and all that. But yeah, like 2 Fuas, you can do 3. Yeah, again, you can do 3. Hey, I had run Purge in the previous is video, not videos. Well, yeah, videos, but duels and such. But I took it. I opted out to more, which might. It's like if you want, you can also switch impermanents for Purge. And so there's that. Let's see. And the next part is I opted this. This wasn't. I don't think this has been in any of my duels, but I chose to add it because it felt kind of a little bit minimalized that you only have since they hit both of these at 2. You only have a few amounts of level 1 on spellcasters and such. You don't have to run this, but it's an optional. You can also do Bingo Machine Go, which is also good card. The Primite engine, yeah, definitely need the 3 barrel of always. And yeah, as there's no Maliss matches, there will be more for like the next videos, because I want to make sure I get to pump up more decks, especially a Maliss deck. And in time, I'm when Ryzeal drops. But yeah, Lancia, you it's definite. You have to have about 3 of this. If this is any other deck, I can suggest. Well, mostly you have to main deck Lancia, or you can do the super poly play with the Cyber's Agonixter Golem fusion and tech. Jet, I think Jet is just always like a good card for the blue eye second, and would really catch people off guard because they would try to either pop cards, and it's like Jet says no, you can't pop. Yeah, you just can't pop. while he's on the field. Which is always 3 of, because you want search all your blue eyes cards and your level 1 spellcasters. And then we'll also give you a new blue eyes target to send to grave. Well, equip, then send to grave to get an extra disruption. You can do 1 or 2 roars, or mostly you want to do 1 roar, but 2 can be good in some situations. Mausoleum is always 1 of. That starts with a stat. Spirit Vibes of blue. So Lonely Load is always a 3 of. That searches your barrel. Also searches your drill beam. And you can do a lot of plays. So like a lot of plays of like if your opponent like maxes and full outs you, and you have like you can get like a blue eyes in your hand, or any Primite cards in your hand, and you use North on barrel, set lowly load or such, add a drill beam, and then all you gotta do is just send some copies, and then if you also have Maiden, and you can also get to set this trap, or if the trap's in your hand and you already have like copies of the vanilla blue eyes, that is your best way you can like play under or a lot of maxi buas plays. For all, it's gonna be difficult because like you are summoning from hand, so there's no way out for that. But at least you can minimize the amount of draws they can get. Also recommend of like talent. You go to your triple attack talent, and it's 1 of. Call by 2 of to just stop some hand traps or such. Cross out in the gate to negate some of the stuff. Ultimate Fusion, and I still opt for Ultimate Fusion because it's like good way to dodge. You can pop stuff up to have on activations and to do the embassy negate. Dribbling, you can do 1, but it's kind of more handy to have at least 2, because then that way you can have more ways of like catching the opponent off guard, where like you have simply another one, and in some cases in mirror matches, or when you're going against like stun or floodgate decks, as you can very much be able to opt boards as easily. Match C, this is your pop card, and in which Tire Dragon can revive any of your traps back, so you can just continue pops. And I think Tire Dragon is one of my favorite boys cards right now, because it's just been so useful. It's just very easy out. 3 spirits, it's as usual, since they can special summon any of your Dragon Synchros. Like Dragon Synchros, I had to double check. And then the new card that was out for like months, Light Sword Dragon, which is a very good card. You can summon this with just normally or with the spirit, and just pop up a lot of cards. And then you can also set one of your spells to traps. That's if it gets destroyed by battle card effect, which has been really nice. Safi, aka a Blue Ice Safi E-Dragon, and which protects all your destruction, and in the case of the spirit the spirits using to pop them. The board when you get the ultimate spirit and the Safi on the board. And also do keep it also in mind, if your opponent does try to, there will be instances where like if you do go up by 5 summons, you can bait it, not do the full combo, the full double spirit play. You can do you do any 2 dragons, and pop the heavenly seal. And then just let that happen, because then that way you dot the Nibiru will most likely after that. Which is kind of why Nibiru is not in this, but you can always tech it in. And Indigo, I like this card too, because it's like most opponents won't expect this because it also has the on effect to negate all cards on their field. All face up cards are to negate on the field. And it's like that's on the XZ summon effect, which is good. And then yes, 2 spirits and then two seals. I'm not like opting to like SP because I want to do more of this, the more Blue Eyes Pass and such. Yeah, and that's a lot of my advice for these. Probably like along down the future, I'll probably like have the cards show up of which ones, and so I'll like come up with this as I go. If you guys enjoyed, so again, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Check it out. 他说：“叫。”